This call is officially being recorded. Guys, I am so excited about the fact that John Wasserman has graciously volunteered his time to speak with all of you. I've noticed there's actually a lot of people from the Midwest region on here, which I love because not a lot of you probably know John that well. And I'm going to give you guys a couple of quick stats on him because he's actually my original DVM. So we go way back in 2012. And his stats in the business are absolutely incredible. I'm going to go over just a couple of quick ones. His career sales, guys, are over $83 million. That is a lot of lives, and that is absolutely incredible. He's the #1 division manager in the Northeast region for 2017. I'm sure he's going for that exact same title again in 2018. John has created Silver Cup champions at every level of the business. I remember when I first started, there were so many Silver Cup winners, and it was just an incredible time to be part of the Powerhouse division. He's also written 2 different books. This one, Deciding to Thrive, Lessons Learned in My Search for the Meaning of Success and How to Sustain It, and No Shorts, Flip-Flops, or Sunglasses, How to Get and Make the Most of Your First Real Job. So guys, John is an absolutely incredible leader in our business. I feel so incredibly grateful to have grown up in the business alongside of his leadership. And of course, to have him here on this call is just incredible. So that being said, John, I know that you have a couple of discussion questions you want to start off with. Guys, what we're going to do, just so you all know, if you've been part of the branch impact calls in the past, you know that when you have a question, you just write in the chat feature. So for the discussion aspect, when you want to answer the discussion, please write in the chat feature and we'll go to you. For the PDI PC scenarios, I'm going to call on you and then John's going to give you the scenario. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to John and we'll get started.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be on this call with you. I think about, we're going to talk about PDI today. And really, when you think about PDI, there probably really are no experts on PDI because each person is an individual. So you kind of have to go with your gut. But I don't know if you've ever felt like your manager really always seems to know what to say on PDI. And that really just comes from experience. So what's exciting is by the end of the summer, you're going to have that kind of experience because you're going to do a great job with PDI. But here's the mistake I've seen a lot of branch managers make. And that is that they think they can do their entire summer's PDI via text. I would say that's a huge mistake to think that you could do text PDI. I think that when you do text PDI, it has a place, getting updates and things like that, but you really do need to talk to somebody. So if you utilize text to set up the actual live conversation, I think that would be the way to go, right? So don't just rely on text messaging this summer. Try to have real conversations. Have you ever gotten a text message and you're really angry by it because of what the person said, and then you end up talking to the person and they didn't even mean it that way? It just came across in the text that way. That happens a lot, and that's not the way you want to manage your sales representatives. I've also seen branch managers make the mistake of thinking that they don't need to talk to their reps every day. They don't need to do the PDI every single day. Well, somebody's going to be talking to them every day. And the other people talking to them that are not you are not saying you should do more demos and you should be encouraged and it's going to be okay and you'll get them next time. They don't usually hear that. They hear things like, you should probably try to get a job somewhere else. Okay, it's cool that you want to do this job. Why don't you also do another job to get steady pay? And as you know, the pay here is as steady as you are. So, but new representatives don't get that right away. So it's really up to us to help manage their emotions, and it's up to us to help drive, obviously, their actions. So that's kind of a couple things about PDI. I wanted to open it up to discussion. So you're going to have to actually, I guess, how's this going to work? You're going to write in the comments, and then Shelby, he'll read it to me because I don't even see the comment section.
Yeah, so I have the comments,
right?
The comment feature pulled up here, and then as people want to answer, we'll direct it to them.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'm just going to ask questions, and you can help me from there. But first question is, why is PDI important? Why is PDI important? I gave you a couple of ideas. Why do you think PDI is important?
If people don't start writing in the chat, I'm just going to randomly call on somebody. Okay, Lily, So go ahead and unmute your line and answer the question.
I think PDI is really important just because it's so important to build a community with your reps. One of my goals for the summer is to just like kind of build a little family, because when you have a family, then you're able to make sure that you tailor your PDI to everybody's needs, and then you're able to just have a really close relationship with that rep. And I think it's easier to understand where they're coming from when you get a sense of who they are.
I think that's really good, Lily. And I think if you want to build that kind of community, that family kind of community, it starts in training, making sure that when you run a break in training, that you realize it's not a break for you, it's a break for them, and that you instruct them to make sure that they are hanging out with each other, right? Eating together, if it's a lunch break, that type of thing. But the other thing that can really help is field training. If you can get a field training culture going in your organization where they're doing demos with each other, they're going to like each other, they're going to stick around much longer.
Awesome. And Jack Schaefer, he wants to answer as well.
Jack?
Yeah, I feel like PDI is important because I guess it kind of gives reps a chance to debrief after a demo, and kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture of, what they might be able to, improve on, and what, what are some things they did well.
Yeah, exactly right, Jack. And if you don't give them the opportunity to reflect on what they've done. So one of the things that Jack is saying here is you want to really add value to each representative on PDI. You can't do that if you don't talk to them, right? But if your PDI adds value where they're getting a chance to talk about the demo they just did and get excited about the next demo, they'll keep calling in. The reason why people don't call in is because they're not getting the value from PDI that they were promised. They're getting rah-rah, shish boom bah, how much you just go do more demos, right? That's not PDI. That's just getting updates. You can do that via text. You don't need to talk to them to get an update, but that's not what PDI is, right? PDI is you talking to them about the demos they've experienced, and then creating excitement for them to do more. Good answer, Jack.
And Colin, go ahead.
I also think PDI is important because you can sort of motivate them and get them to want to do more things. Because I know with me, I always PDI and I'm 18 grand in career sales. And plus I always feel like I could ask my manager about anything. I called Scotty Brown, who's my manager, yesterday just because I was having a problem with a kid on the soccer team. So I think it's important because you can build that connection and they get that feeling that they can come to you with anything.
That's right, Colin. Now, how do you think you set that up, Colin?
Well, he always said the right things and knew what to say whenever he was handling my PDI through everything else. Plus, he really pushed PDI as an important program in the office. So
how are you going to set that up this summer?
I'm going to try and follow in his footsteps exactly.
Yeah. It really comes from, and it's a great answer, Colin. One of the biggest things is you're going to motivate them and hopefully build a good enough relationship with them where they're going to want to call in to ask you things that have nothing to do with selling Cutco. And I wrote down, so the next question is, and I know some of you wanted to chime in, but you can kind of fits in line, so you can chime in anyway. What are the main objectives of PDI? You heard Colin talk about that relationship, and I'd say that's number one on my list is building a great relationship with them. So if they're at home and they call in for PDI and I hear a dog barking in the background, I'll ask what their dog's name is, what kind of dog it is, and then the next time I talk to them, I might say, if I hear the dog again, I might say, "Is that Fluffy, the Great Dane?" And they're like, "Oh my gosh, he remembers my dog's name." Now I wrote it down on either Web PDI or on my PDI book or whatever you're using for PDI. It's up to you. But I think that shows that I actually care about that person. So writing things down, taking notes on the PDI calls, that's going to help you build a relationship. What are some of the other objectives of PDI?
So Mike, if you want to jump in there with Mike with the lowercase m.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think this is my first gig as district manager, so I haven't had a lot of experience with PDI, just because my office wasn't really up and running that much. But anyway, I think just to piggyback off of building that relationship, to make them, because I know when I was a beginner rep, I was kind of afraid to call in, especially with like no sales and things like that, because you know what you're going to hear. And I think you need to reverse that, and definitely for the motivation. And I think it's very important to be able to build that relationship and be able to find out what makes that rep tick and how hard you can push that rep or how hard you don't need to push that rep, or find that to get that relationship together so that you know how to manage that rep, because everybody's going to be managed differently.
That's right.
With different goals.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Relationship building. Let's assume you have the relationship. How do you find out what motivates somebody? What makes that rep tick, as you put it?
Yeah, you ask a lot of questions. You talk, like you were saying during breaks. Find out, their interests, their hobbies, all that stuff, and why. Why are you here? What's your goal? What's your why?
That's it right there, Mike. You nailed it. I mean, it's just asking them what motivates you. That's
what motivates you. I mean, why do you get up in the morning and come to Champions Club? Why do you? Is it money, or does money not mean anything at all and it's just something else, or, what is it? Yeah. I think that's very important.
Now, sometimes, gang,
everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Sometimes it's money, right? And that's what they want. So you can kind of break it down and show them how to hit their income goal for the summer. I've had reps telling me that I had somebody say, I just want to win a trophy. I never won a trophy before. Once I knew that, it took us all summer to get her to win a trophy, but she won a trophy at the last conference of the summer. I had somebody else say, I'm tired of being Mr. Jaffe's son. That was it. That's what motivated him. He didn't need money, but he was tired of being his father's son and not being his own person is what he meant, right? He wasn't, super popular in high school or anything like that. He wasn't geeky by any means either, but Adam Jaffe sold $50,000 that summer, $25,000 of it in his first 10 days. And there's so many stories like that. Somebody said to me, I want to break a record. So we figured out which record would be easiest for her to break, which was August for our region. And she sold $30,000 for the month of August. So it's just really finding out. And sometimes they don't really know. And it's kind of, they might give you kind of a cliche answer or kind of a, they're not even really sure. And that's okay. But you keep working with them to figure it out and keep asking questions like Mike said. What are some of the other objectives of PDI other than let's stay away from relationship building? Let's assume we're doing that. Let's stay away from finding out their why and motivating them because we got that one. What are some of the other objectives?
Mike Leone, go ahead. Jump in there.
So what I was going to say, the way that I still call them for PDI, but the way I kind of use PDI now that I didn't really realize in the beginning was that it's something that I use to make my emotions for my demos exist somewhere else. And I don't allow myself to get too high, but I also don't allow myself to get too low. And it's just to have that, that outlet to go to.
That's great. And I'll tell you, one of the things, Mike, you sold a lot of Cutco, and I know some of you have sold, maybe you've sold 15,000, maybe you've sold 150,000. And I was not somebody who sold a lot of Cutco. I opened up my branch at $16,000 in sales. Okay. So I was still learning PDI as I was trying to do PDI as a branch manager. But I will tell you that your reps, most of them, 90%, are not going to be like you. So what you use PDI for is they won't get that right away. It takes some time for them to get that. And if you think back to being a new representative, you didn't probably use PDI then the way you've learned to use it today. You're at a completely different level. And I remember, and I've seen this a lot, where as new managers, we think that they're all going to call in and they're all going to get it right away, and that's just not the case. So you really got to kind of walk them through why PDI, and you got to keep reminding them why PDI is important, right? And I always use an analogy as, PDI is like if you picture an airplane. Okay, you're the airplane, the rep is the airplane, the office is the control tower. You think about that airplane flying around in the clouds, right? But what happens if that airplane loses contact with the control tower? Well, I'll tell you what happens, Johnny Rep, is that airplane eventually runs out of fuel, and then once it runs out of fuel, it's going to crash, burn, and you're going to die. And we don't want to see that happen to you, so make sure you call in on PDI. And I say it just like that, and they laugh every time. But and it's like you're going to die, here's the reason why I do that. They might forget the story. They're probably going to forget PDI, but they do know that this thing where they call in is important, and they need to do it. So when you kind of tell stories like that, it helps them understand. Okay, just helps them remember that this is something that's important. I wrote down a couple other things. I'm going to just rattle off here because we're at about the 15-minute mark, and I'm going to get into the different scenarios. And I know there's a list of you waiting to chat. But here are the objectives I wrote down for PDI. Number one is relationship building, getting to know them, right? So sometimes somebody will call in and I'll say, how was your weekend? And they'll go right into, well, I didn't do as many demos as I wanted and blah, 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 blah. And I say, no. How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun? I just kind of switch it up a little bit and make sure they know I care about them first, right? Second objective is to drive demos. And I mean, that's it. PDI is your tool to drive demos. And the way you do that is every time they come in, they should be signing in with how many demos they have each day for the next 3 or 4 days. They should do 4 days at a time, and how many they'd like to have for each of the next 4 days. So if it's a Monday, they would sign in how many they have for later Monday, how many they want to have. So it might be they have 2 and they only want 2, but maybe Tuesday they only have 1 and they want 4. Maybe Wednesday they only have 1 and they want 4. Thursday, and then when I'm on PDI to drive demos, I can say, "Hey, John, I see you only have 1 demo for tomorrow, and you wanted to have 4. What was your plan to get those other 3?" And instead of telling them to get on the phone, I'm coaching them to do it. It's going to be their idea, right? They're going to say, "Well, I'm going to get on the phone." Okay, that sounds good. About what time are you planning to get on the phone? They're going to give me a time. How many calls do you think it's going to take to get 3 more demos for tomorrow? They're going to give me a number. So now they've set a time, a goal. And the next day I can say, "How did your phone time go? Did you get those 3? Oh, I only got 1 more. How many calls did you actually make? Okay, what can we do differently today?" And now I can use PDI to actually coach them to drive demos. Sometimes they have a goal of, "I got 1 today and I want 5 more." And this person never makes enough calls to get 4 same-day appointments. So I might say, "That sounds like a great goal. Can you commit to at least getting 1 more?" And I'll actually lower the goal to a number I think they could actually hit. But if I can get every rep to do 1 more demo every single day, then I'm really doing a great job of PDI. Third objective of PDI is accountability, right? And I think a lot of you probably use PDI for accountability and don't even realize it, where you're giving your manager a goal for the week or a goal for the day or a goal for the next couple of days. I try to keep PDI very short term. The beginning of the week, I'm asking for where they want to be at by Friday. End of the week, where do you want to be by Monday? And I kind of utilize just short-term goals to manage the rep throughout the week. And I'm holding them accountable to whatever they're telling me, not in a negative way. It's like, "Hey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. What happened?" And I'm just going to ask them. I'm going to let them tell me their excuse, and I'm going to tell them why I think they're better than that. And then we're going to come up with a solution to move forward, right? And the fourth objective of PDI is attendance. Attendance to the next event, whether it's a PC they're signed up for, a team meeting that you have coming up. We're going to talk about that one in a few minutes, but getting them to the next event. PDI is also used for event-to-event management, so always making sure you're getting them to that next event. So those are the 4 major objectives of PDI. There are a lot of other little things you can add in there, but those are the 4 big ones I want to get done. I want to build the relationship. I want to drive demos. I want to hold them accountable to whatever they told me they were going to do, and manage them, in other words. And I want to drive them to the next event attendance, okay? I want to switch gears a little bit, and hopefully you don't mind if Shelby continues to pick you in the order that you chimed in, even though you chimed in to answer a different question, but I promise this will be a positive, fun exercise for you. And we're going to do some PDI scenarios. So I'm going to ask a question, and so Shelby will call on somebody, and then you'll have a chance to pretend like you're doing PDI with me. Just do whatever you think comes naturally. You have about 60 seconds or less to handle the situation. And then I'll give you some feedback, or I'll just say, "Well, that was great, and here's how I would do it." Okay. So we're going to learn from this, and hopefully we'll get a lot out of it. This is going to assume you've already built rapport. We have that you've already done that part of the call where you ask me how my weekend went, so you can skip that for this exercise, okay? I just want you to get into here's my issue, help me solve it, okay? Or maybe I don't even realize it's an issue, right? So we're going to do the first one, and the first one is it's my first weekend. So these first couple scenarios, let's assume it's my first weekend. I just launched out of training, and I just did my first demo, and I had a no sale. So I'll call in and I'll say, "Hey, it's John. Just did my first demo. Went really well." And then you'll eventually say, "Well, okay, great. What did they get?" "Oh, they didn't get anything." Go.
All right, Connor Nass, that's you.
I can't hear you, Connor.
We can't hear you. All right, we're going to move on to Corbin then. Connor, fix that, and we'll come up back to you. Corbin,
Okay.
it's all you.
Okay, wait. So you said first week.
First demo ever, had a no sale.
All right. Well, I'll start off by saying congratulations. You finally got that out of the way. And after that, I actually kind of really don't know what else I would say.
Well, that was the perfect
but
start.
I would start off with congratulations and telling them all that.
You're right on the money. And the reason why we do that, Corbin, is because we don't want them to feel, we want them to want to do more demos, right? So a brand new rep that has a no sale is a lot different than when you have a no sale. And you have a no sale, it could ruin your whole day if you don't have any more demos lined up. Maybe not, but you know what I mean, right? Because you're really counting on that sale, especially if you don't have more demos. But a new rep, they don't care. They're getting whatever your base pay is anyway, right? So they're not even thinking about it. So maybe they didn't even try to sell. Maybe they did try to sell. But I always start off the same way after I do the build and report part. How'd it go? Great. Well, hey, congratulations. You got your first demo done. How's it feel to do the first one? They say, felt pretty good. Wait till you see the next one. It's going to be even better. And hey, you got your first no sale out of the way, right? So that everybody has those. So that's gone. Let me tell you what else is going on in the office. So-and-so called in. They had their first sale. So-and-so called in. They had their first. I might name a couple people that they trained with. Maybe it's only 2 people. And I'll mention that they had their first sale. Maybe one of them was a homemaker. I might not even say that. I might just say they had a sale, you know. And then I'll say, it's your turn next. Who's your next appointment with? I'm feeling good about this one. How are you feeling about it? Okay, I'm feeling a sale. All right, go for that first sale. And you're just going to challenge them to do the next thing in line, which if they haven't had a sale yet, it's just getting their first sale, right? Now maybe they called in and they had their first demo and it was a set. So I'll mention, okay, well, so-and-so sold a homemaker, so your turn next, right? I'm challenging them to do the next thing. Maybe they sold a homemaker or a galley set, and I'll talk about going for a grand day or $2,000 a day. So I'm always congratulating them for what they did do, letting them know any other hot news. So this would be the 3-step process, right? Congratulate them on what they've accomplished. Let them know any other hot news that's happened in the office that day or in the division if you don't have it in your own office. You can find out that some other rep in some other office, you could mention, hey, so-and-so in such and such office, and they don't even have any money in that county, right? So, I mean, I kind of make stuff up sometimes. But, I mean, to be funny, not to make stuff up to lie, but or to manipulate. It's not my goal. And then the third thing that I do is challenge them to hit the next thing, whatever it is. First sale, first set, first homemaker, first grand day, first $2,000 day, whatever the next thing is, next promotion, whatever the case may be. So good answer. All right, let's go to the next scenario. Again, first weekend. They just sold a homemaker, and they've got 2 demos to go. All right, so they just had a big sale, a homemaker sale, and they've got 2 more demos lined up. So let's assume you've already built rapport and did all that.
All right, Chris Henderson, we're going to go to you.
Okay, just so I can be clear, was this like their first homemaker? Was this their first sale? You said this was their first sale?
First sale. Grandma just bought a homemaker plus 8. They've got 2 more appointments lined up. They just launched training an hour and a half ago.
Okay, cool. So cool. Congratulations. First of all, man, how does it feel to get your first set sale out of the way?
Yeah, it feels good. That was exciting. She's going to love it.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to love it, man. Definitely want to congratulate you there on that one moving forward, man. And guess what, man? You got 2 more demos ahead of you. So that's an opportunity for you to sell 2 more homemakers. How tight would that be, bro?
That would be tight, bro.
Awesome, man. If you sold 2 more homemakers, you'd be looking at like $3,000 in CPO just to start your first weekend off, bro. That'd be hot. You'd be looking at a pretty big paycheck too, man. That's pretty exciting. So how would you feel about that, having a nice paycheck in your wallet?
All right, Chris, that was excellent. All right, so the only thing I would change, I wouldn't change much of what you said. I would only add in how much they made on that sale, especially if they're at 10% and just hit their first promotion with a homemaker sale. I think you pretty much at your first promotion, depending on what you give free. Letting them know they're at 15%. You do it again. Now you're going to earn X amount of dollars for the same amount of work at 15%. So I kind of will give them some of the math, do some of the math. And Chris, you do PDI the way a lot of new managers in my 25 plus years have done PDI, all the way back even 25 years ago, where you'll want to be their friend and talk to them like they're your bro, but they don't want to be your bro. They need you to be their boss. So I would that's just me personally, and maybe talk to your DVM about that and see what they say. But when I hear a branch manager do PDI or a new manager, I'll typically steer them away from saying words like man or bro, which, normally if you're talking to somebody you are a bro with, you would do that. But and just I would really try to talk to them at a higher level, because you're going to retain your sharpest reps that way. So
gotcha.
I think it's totally cool, but your sharpest reps, they might be a little turned off by that. So just a thought.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. And I will say at the end, I was definitely getting to the promotion. The 3 grand that came to my head, I was like, yeah, that'd be like $400 in your pocket selling
Yeah.
3 grand. I hadn't gotten that far, but I definitely feel you on the math, and I will take that in the on the. I will use that as far as the no bros and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I can tell you've done PDI before because you nailed it. So that was really good. All right.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Chris,
it.
that was awesome. I just want to add one thing. Guys in particular, when you get into the habit of calling people bro and calling people man, sometimes you slip up and call a female man. And I could think 5 or 6 vector people that constantly call me man, and I hate it more than anything. So just
Oh wow.
take what John said to heart and really get in the habit of not calling people bro and man, because you do it to a female, you're going to steer them away.
Yeah.
Definitely got it. Yeah, I will definitely take that to
Chris
heart.
Mason, as a brand new manager, sold $500,000 for the summer. And halfway through the summer, you know, I was listening to him do PDI, and I said, you got to stop calling everybody man. And that's not why he sold $500,000. He probably would have sold a lot anyway, but it was just, it's the natural thing that, you know, that you, sometimes you do it. It's, you don't even realize it. So anyway, now you know. All right, next scenario. First weekend, rep calls in and they want to quit.
All right, Lily, go ahead.
Okay, so for this one, I would probably, so did they just come off a demo and they're saying this, or is this just kind of like out of the blue?
They just had a demo. They had 2 demos. They didn't sell anything yet, and they're totally done. Not working for me.
Okay. Well, hey, you just got your first 2 demos out of the way, and there's only room to grow from here. So what's holding you back? What do you think is, what makes you seem uncertain about the job?
It's just not, you know, I just can't see myself doing this job this summer.
Hey, well, you just started out, you're new, which means that you have a lot to learn, and just go through your fast start, just keep trying. I had a lot of people that I worked with my first summer, and they had a few no sales to start out with, and then they totally took off. Even Matt Johnson, who's a rock star in this company, his first 2 weeks, he had complete no sales, and now he's one of the top reps in our business. So don't give up, just keep trying. Is there anything that I can do, anything that maybe I taught you in training that seems unclear that we could work on?
That's great, Lily. Let me stop you there. That was an excellent answer. Okay, so you try to dive in a little bit to find out, well, what's really the reason here that you're, you know, so I do the same thing. I just say it a little bit differently the way I would typically say, because they just launched from training. They've only done 2 demos, right? And so you know, the question I would have is, what happened between a few hours ago when you were in training and all excited, and you had a couple of no sales? Like what happened? Like what's keeping you from wanting to do the job, really? Like what's really keeping you from wanting to do it? Because you were so excited just a little while ago. And I'm hoping to dive into the answer a little bit, and then I can go from there. But no matter what the answer is, I like to use feel, felt, found. All right, which I'll teach you in a second. Feel, felt, found, and then try to get them to advanced training anyway. Okay, or to complete their demos and come to advanced training. All right, so remember, one of the 4 objectives of PDI is attendance. So if I can get them to advanced training and I can fill them full of promises that advanced training can make all the difference, that could be it, right? So I'll say, so let's say I dove in a little bit like you did, and they said, yeah, it's just not for me. And it's, you know, I love the so-and-so had stumbled out of the gates and they turned into a rock star. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I would use myself as an example because I went 1 for 7 my first weekend. I don't tell anybody that in training. I wait till advanced training. But I say, hey, look, I went 1 for 7 my first weekend, and I actually came to advanced training to quit. So you could say, hey, one of our top managers in the company went 1 for 7 his first weekend, John Wasserman. He actually came to the advanced training to quit, to hand in a sample kit and quit. And they wouldn't let me. And the words they said were, you might give up on you, but I'm not going to give up on you. And I never forgot that. And I've been using those words when I talk to reps on PDI ever since. So, hey, Lily, I went 1 for 7 my first weekend, and I didn't feel too good about that. Is that kind of, you kind of feeling that way, not too good about these couple sales? I remember when, you know, my own aunt didn't buy anything from me. My mom didn't buy anything from me. And I was a little bit discouraged. Is it discouragement? A little bit? And usually they're like, yeah, a little bit. And I'd say, well, listen, that's normal. You know, you didn't do anything wrong. That's totally normal. What I would encourage you to do is, I know you had a couple more demos lined up. Your next one might be a sale, might not be a sale. I don't even care. I just want you to get the experience. I want you to come to the advanced training on Monday. And advanced training is where we really teach you how to do this job well at a next level. I don't care how your first weekend goes. Remember in the training, I said 10% of you're not going to have a lot of luck this weekend. That's okay. You might be part of that. I was part of that 10%. Some of our best people were. And later on in life, you're going to be a rock star in anything you do. But let's figure this out. You don't seem to me like somebody that gives up that easily. So what do you say? Can you give it another try? And so that, try to see if I can get them to commit to at least give it another try. Hey, let's do a couple demos. Let's get you to advanced training. The feel, felt, found, depending on what their answer was, it might be more of a, if they don't feel comfortable seeing people they know, hey, I know how you feel. I felt the same way when I was brand new. I remember not wanting to call, not wanting to set up the demos, not wanting to walk in the door. When I had the demo lined up, do you feel that way at all? And they're like, yeah, a little bit. Hey, I'll tell you what I found out. They were happy to see me. They were excited to see me. They were surprised that the product was so good, but they didn't even care about the product. They really just wanted to see me. And if you could borrow a cup of sugar from these people for a recipe or whatever, if you could ask them for any kind of favor or they could ask you for any kind of favor, so all you're doing is you're asking them to see your knife demo. Not a big deal. All right. They're going to love it. And here's what else I found out. Some of those people really wanted Cutco already, and I didn't know it. And they hated their knives, and I didn't know it because we didn't talk about that over the phone. And to allow them to roam planet Earth with these crappy knives, wondering why their knives are so terrible, when I have the solution for them, you can't let people do that. You got to give it a shot. And I try to get them to laugh a little bit. And then I talk about how awesome advanced training is going to be and see if I can get them to do those next couple demos. So the I want to quit one is one of the hardest ones, right? So, but those are a couple of the different ways that I handle that. All right. Now we're going to jump in, and great job, Lily. Now we're going to jump into their fast start. So they finished advanced training. They're in their fast start. Maybe it's it's the day after advanced training. And the first one is, all right, so it's the day after advanced training, get me to the team meeting.
All right, we're going to go to see if Connor Ness's microphone's working.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Get me to the team meeting, Connor.
You can? Okay. Get you to the team meeting. So how'd your first couple demos go?
Great. I sold $1,000.
Sold $1,000?
Yeah, I gave them to the advanced training, remember?
I do. So I mentioned team meetings in your advanced training. It's where the team comes together. You get to meet all the team. They've been dying. They're really excited to meet you. So would you be available? Would you be able to come into the team meeting this Thursday?
I don't know. Do I have to?
It's not. You don't have to. But I messed up.
You're doing great. You're doing good. Well, you're one of my branches in my division, so I feel like I could be a little tougher on you. But yeah, Connie, you did a great job. This is a tough one, right? So there are a couple keys to getting people to a team meeting. And I didn't say I didn't want to come, right? But you definitely gave me the option not to. And being 18 years old, anytime I have the option not to do something, I exercise that option, okay? Typically. So to get people, here's the reason why I put this one in there. Meeting attendance is very challenging to get people to, but you should expect 90% of your people to be at your events, okay? 75% bare minimum. If you fall below 75% of your people at events, then you're not doing a good enough job of driving attendance. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad manager. It means that you need to reach out to your DM or your DBM and ask them, hey, help me with meeting attendance. What do I need to say differently, right? And they might role play with you. But here's how I would drive somebody to a meeting. I'd say, hey, Connor, we've got a meeting on, I know some of you do Wednesday night. In our division, we do Thursday night. There is no right answer there, whenever your team meeting is. But hey, Connor, we've got a meeting Thursday night. I want to tell you why this meeting is so important, okay? So it's not just about coming in and recognizing everybody. You're going to meet the rest of the team. One of the main topic that we're going to be covering at this team meeting, Connor, is we're going to teach you how to get into the homes we're going to teach you how to get into $1 million homes. So how does that sound to you, Connor?
Sounds great.
Sound like something you want to learn about?
Yes.
That's the main topic at this meeting. It's going to be an awesome meeting. We have so-and-so as a guest speaker. We're also going to be going over some of the opportunities that you're going to have available this summer to think are really important. You're going to get a chance to set up your weekend, and we can talk about your schedule for the weekend. But these meetings are, we don't have you come to the office every single day, right? We just have these team meetings. I know it's been a lot so far, but now that you've graduated from advanced training, we've just got the weekly team meetings and the occasional phone jam to kind of help you with your job. I promise to make sure that you are going to be successful here. These meetings are mandatory for success. If somebody says, do I have to come? I would just respond with, they're mandatory for success.
So you just kind of create urgency.
Yeah, I just say they're mandatory for success because they're not mandatory. But to succeed in this business, they are, right? So I didn't say they were mandatory. I just said they were mandatory for success. If you want to be successful here, you've got to be at the team meetings. There's no doubt in my mind as to whether or not they should or shouldn't be there. So they need to be there. Or they're not going to, I know that if they're not there, they're not going to last in this business, right? So I had somebody once tell me that they couldn't make the team meeting because their mom was making French toast. And, I said, well, I can appreciate that your mom's got French toast on the menu for tonight, but these meetings aren't something to be missed for French toast. These are mandatory for success. And I would either eat French toast before the team meeting or eat French toast after the team meeting. But during a team meeting, it's a French toast free zone. I need you to be there. Okay. So can I count on you? You want me to talk to your mom for you? Do you want me to put her on the phone right now? Put me on speaker and I'll tell her why these meetings are important. And that's what I would do. All right. So, and it takes some balls to do that. I know, some guts, but you got to do it, male or female, you got to do it. All right. So that was a slip up on my part. I apologize. Anyway, so it takes some guts to do that. And you got to do it. So you just got to get them there. I'd rather make them go kicking and screaming than let them miss. By the way, the person that had to have that French toast was my current pilot sales manager, Austin Craig. He turned out okay. So. All right.
That is so funny. I'm gonna brag on him for that one.
Absolutely, he'll love it. Next is still in their fast start. They're at $2,000 in sales. They have 6 days to go. I have 6 days to go. I'm at $2,000 in sales. Give me some direction.
Joshua Vaughn, go ahead, man.
There we go. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So 6 days left, you said?
6 days left. I'm at 2K.
All right. So, all right, John. Looks like you're at 2K in sales so far in your first 4 days. How you feeling?
Great.
Good. Sounds like you made a little over about 250. Now, remind me again, what was your goal for your fast start?
3,000.
3,000? Awesome. Definitely want to get you to that homemaker when you everything to completion. That'll be nice. Now, John, you mind if I actually give you a quick suggestion here?
Sure.
Honestly, I think you might be shooting a little bit low. I mean, I definitely want to see it 3,000, but I think I could see some potential. You might be able to shoot for that 5 or 7K level. We've still got plenty of days to do it. And I know after advanced training, you're definitely pumped about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I could see you getting a little bit more. Maybe if you able to shoot 10K, we can fit enough. We'll have to plan out your schedule, but I definitely think we can guarantee you that 3K, but why don't we see if we can shoot a little bit higher? What do you think about that?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So let's see what we want to do. Plan out maybe the rest of your week here. It looks like you have X amount of demos lined up at the moment. How many were you planning on doing for these next 6 days?
I have a lot of time. So I think I have 7 or 8 lined up so far.
7 or 8 lined up so far, so call it about a little over 1 a day. Honestly, I think if we could maybe just get you another 2 each day, that's 3 for the next 6 days. That'll put you up to 18 appointments. I think you could really hit a high level in your fast start. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Awesome. So let's do that. We'll figure out how many phone calls you think you'll be committing for each day to try and book these up.
I have no idea.
All right. Well, since remember the rule of thumb is, when you're new, it takes about, 5 to 10 calls to get an appointment. We're still calling all people you know. So if we want to get about 18 lined up, survey, it would probably take, between 100 and 180 calls. And for the days, that factors out to be about like 30 phone calls a day. So if you do 15 in the morning, Probably take you like 5-10 minutes, do 50 in the evening, same thing. You should have no problem lining up your demos.
All right, good job of breaking it back down, Josh, because you just terrified me when I realized I had to make 100 to 180 phone calls to hit my goal. I only have about 25 names in front of me, right? Then you broke it back down. It takes 15 in the morning, 15 in the evening. And then you would say, hey, you're probably going to call some people more than once. So when we say that number, it's not that you have to have 100 different people. But you might want to dive in and ask how their names list is looking, right? And if they're at 2K, you want to get people to $6,000 to $10,000. And those are easy numbers. Remember, just pick two numbers, 6K and 10K, right? Hey, at 6K, you make $1,000. At 10K, you make $2,000. Remember in training, I said some of you are going to make $1,000 to $2,000 in your first 10 days. Joshua, I think you're one of those people, and I can tell you exactly how to do it. Here are the things you would get. I would remind them of what they get, whether it's fast start prizes, promotions. If you hit 10K, people will bow down when you walk by in the office, all right? So, and I just kind of build it up as a big deal. And then I ask them, is that something you want to go for? They always say yes if you do a good job of telling them all the things they get out of it. And well, I want to teach you exactly what you need to do it. And you got to commit to doing 3 or 4 demos a day, right? And you already have a bunch set up, but we got to get it to that 3 or 4 mark, all right? I want you to commit to, instead of saying that big number of 100 phone calls, you might say 30 calls a day, 15 in the morning, 15 in the evening, and you're going to get there. Okay, what do you think about that? You have to call some people multiple times to get a hold of them, but what I found is when they see your number a couple times, they're more likely to answer. So that's a good thing, not a bad thing. You just kind of walk them through what they would need to do to accomplish this goal and remind them of why you think they could do it. So, but otherwise, great job. What I was testing you on here is when I said my goal was 3K was, are you going to be the lid? Are you going to hold me back and say, all right, go do 3 or 4, or were you really going to push me to a higher number? And you went all the way up to 10K and talked a little bit about that. So great job. All right. Next one. Next scenario here. This is a good one. They're still in their fast start. Maybe they're halfway through. Maybe it's the morning of your team meeting, whatever day that is. Okay, the morning of your team meeting. They're still in their fast start, and they want to start calling their leads now.
All right, Everett Burns. Are you on here still? You are.
Yes, I'm on here. And they want to start calling leads?
Yep, I want to start calling my leads. Hey, I ran out of people that I know. I want to start calling my leads now.
Okay, well, how many people did you start with your initial names list?
You mean when I was in training? How many did I have?
Yeah, how many did you have?
I think I had around 70.
You had around 70, and you've done 70 demos, or you've talked to all 70 of these people?
No.
Okay, so why don't we go back over your initial names list and just review who you have talked to, who you have sat down with, and see who you can still call to see if you can set up demos with them first, because we want to make sure that you have a really solid foundation of leads to start with. The rule of thumb should be to start with at least 100 names and numbers of recommendations before we move off of your initial names list. So let's go back through that and see who we can call from there to set up more demos and get your number of recommendations higher before we start calling them.
All right, good job, Everett. That's exactly what you want to do. No matter what, keep them from calling their leads for as long as humanly possible, because the minute they start calling their leads, especially, so here you got a rep, maybe they've been around for 5 or 6 or 7 days now, but they've only done as many demos as there are days, maybe a couple more. Maybe they've done 10 demos so far, if that. And they had, 30 or 40 or 50 or more names on their names list. And they haven't gotten to all those people. So Everett said, he gave me a reason why. He didn't tell me he just wants me to call people I know. He said, hey, when you get to 100 leads, we're definitely going to teach you how to call your leads. But I really want to make sure you have that number, because when you move away from calling people you know really well to contacting your leads, sometimes you have to make a few extra calls to get people lined up for appointments. So if you only had a few leads, you might burn through them pretty quickly, like in 1 or 2 phone sessions. But if you had 100 or more, you're going to last all summer. You're just going to always have enough people to call, and that's what we want to get you to. So I know you've done 7 appointments so far. Out of the rest of the 38 people you have on your list, do you think you'd be able to get some appointments with them first, and then maybe next week we start teaching you how to call those leads? And I give them a kind of a time frame too. Now, next week, if they've only done a few more appointments, I might sit down with them and do like a thought jogger PC, where I'm going to continue to help them come up with more people. I would dive in and ask how many leads they've gotten so far. You want to know that information. Maybe they've done a really good job with leads, but I still want to keep them on that names list for as long as possible, because I know, number one, they're going to be easier demos for them to set up. It's really going to build their confidence. Those people need Cutco too, right? And they're going to call them eventually. You've all done that, right? You've all had a push period where you went and you called somebody that was probably on your initial names list, or should have been, but you waited till you really needed an appointment, and finally you called them. They bought stuff, right? So all reps do that. So keeping them on that names list for as long as possible. Again, you could use the feel, felt, found if they're like uncomfortable calling people they know. Hey, I know how you feel. I know when I was a new rep, I really felt uncomfortable. I felt like I was bugging them just to sell them knives. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to feel that way. Do you feel that way at all? Does that ring a bell? I think a lot of people feel that way. I think that's perfectly normal. But you know what I found out? I found out when I called them, a lot of people were happy to talk to me. They haven't talked to them in a while. They were excited about me visiting. Some of them had Cutco already, which was really awesome. And what I also found out was some of them heard about Cutco, wanted Cutco, but had no idea how to get it. Now they found out they could get it from me. I think you're going to be really surprised in a really positive way when you give them a call. So what do you think? Can you make a few more calls with people you know, and let's see if we can get that leads up to about 100, which shouldn't take that long, right? If you're averaging 5 to 10. If you need help with that, I can help you with that too. How are you doing with leads? And I might dive in and just get them to commit to calling more people they know. All right. Good stuff. All right. You guys are great. I've got 2 more scenarios and then a final thought. All right, so now we're past the fast start. They're not in their fast start anymore. Fast start's over. It's a regular sales week. Hopefully you're driving. One of the biggest things I think to drive is the newsletter. And if let's say you have a sales goal to sell $25,000 for the week. Well, you take your sales goal, you divide by 2,500, and that's how many reps you need on the newsletter to hit your goal, which would be 10 reps. So 10 reps over 1,000. 10 reps over 1,000. The reason is some will be at 3,000 and some will be at, obviously some reps will be at 500, but you need 10 over 1,000. That would be the goal. Why does this metric work where you take your sales goal and divide by 2,500? I don't know. But I will tell you that we've been watching this forever, for about a decade now, and it works. If you look at somebody's sales report, and I mean in the summer, not like somebody who has a lot of CSPs on their team and, one person sells 20K of it, but if you look at like a normal new business sales report and you look at how much they sold for the week, maybe it's 10K right now, and you get 10K new business, and you look, and I bet you they have 4 people on the newsletter over 1,000, 4 new reps over 1,000. Okay. If it's 20K, I bet you they have 8. Right around there, 7, 9, something like that, but you get the idea. So that really works. So if you have a sales goal of selling $100,000 for SC2 push, divide that by 2,500, and that's how many reps you got to get over 1,000, right? So that's an easy way to do it. All right, so I'm done with my fast start. It's a regular sales week. I'm at $3,000 in career sales. I've been here for 2 weeks, and after $3,000 in sales, a bunch of team meetings in 2 weeks, I'm ready to call it quits for the summer.
Mike Leone, take over this one.
Okay, so you said you've been out of your fast start for like 2 weeks. You've been to a bunch of team meetings, and you're ready to call it quits for the summer.
Yeah, I sold about $3,000. I've been here for 2 to 3 weeks.
Is it the end of the summer, or is it like right dead in the middle?
That's in the middle.
Okay, got it. All right. So you're at 3K. Okay, so hey, John. If you don't mind me asking, what's really holding you back from doing the job? Why do you want to quit?
Well, it's just the pay is not really steady. My mom's putting a lot of pressure on me to do something else.
Okay. How many demos did you do last week?
Last week, I don't know, like 6 or 7.
Okay, so last week, just on the base pay alone, you made at least like $105. So here's the great thing about this job, John. You're kind of in control of your own income. So let's say you went out and you did, 12 demos this week. Well, guess what? You probably would have made about like $200. So it's really all about the action that you can create. And how many people do you have on your name list to call, John?
Not too many. I'm kind of running out.
Okay, gotcha. So if it's something that you're excited about, I know that you said that income was one of the things you really enjoyed about the job. I'm happy to help you put more names and numbers on your list so that way you have more people to call. I'd love to invite you in for a PC so that we can get set up for a time for that. What does your schedule look like later today?
All right, perfect, Mike. So one of the biggest things that Mike's doing here is he's trying to get me in for a PC. That's the best thing you could do. Like sit down with me face to face, dive in. He could do a thought jogging PC with me. I could leave with 20 new names to call, 30 new names to call, numbers, right? That's something you want to do. I did give you some clues as to why I wanted to quit. I'm not making enough money, and my mom's putting a lot of pressure on me to do something different. Probably because she sees me sitting on the couch playing video games. But you don't really need to say that. But you might want to dive into that. So you said your mom's putting some pressure on you. So one of the things that you want to use during PDI or PCs is what we call the echo technique. And it's a way that you can show somebody you're really listening to them. And all the echo technique is you're going to repeat what they just said. And that shows that you're listening. So I said, my mom's putting a lot of pressure on me to find something else. As the manager, I would say, oh, your mom's putting a lot of pressure on you to find something else. I would literally just repeat everything they just said. And they would say, yeah, she really thinks I could be making more money if I, blah, blah. And he would start to dive into that, right? I might echo again to get more information, or I might just say, tell me more, tell me a little bit more. What are your thoughts? How much do you want to make every week? What if I could sit down with you and show you how you could do 7 to 10 demos a week and make $200? And you could show that to your mom and really have an enjoyable summer being part of this team that you love so much. Would that be something that would interest you? Well, yeah, that would kind of interest me. Hey, what's your schedule like tomorrow? Let's get you in here right away. And I would bring him in and I would show him a schedule and how many demos they would need to sell on and how much they would need to sell each week. That would help them make $200 a week for the rest of the summer, not even working that hard, right? Now, if they were really adamant about quitting, like, hey, I'm definitely done. You realize at some point, like when somebody's quitting, you don't want to spend an hour trying to convince them not to quit, right? So, because that's a waste of an hour. If they're like adamant about quitting and you pretty much get the sense that you're not convincing them otherwise, the best thing you can do is end it amicably, but also you can get notice, which they would do at any other job. So I might say, well, Mike, how much notice are you going to give me? And they would say, oh, I'm supposed to give notice. And I said, well, you would give any other place you work notice if you were leaving, right? And they would say, well, yeah. I didn't realize I had to give notice here, though. I'm like, well, I would expect that you'd want to end everything positively so you can put the experience you've already gained on your resume. And I would hope that we have enough respect for one another that you'd want to give me some notice. So I'll tell you what, though, instead of giving 2 weeks notice, which I think is what you would expect to do at any normal job, you would give 2 weeks notice. How about because if you did nothing for 2 weeks, that wouldn't really be giving me notice, right? How about if we pick a number of demos? Like, how about we say 10 demos? So what I try to do is if they're quitting, I try to get a 10 demo notice. Now, if they're not selling anything and they're quitting, I just let them quit. And I say, hey, bring the kit back. Great try. I think you're going to be awesome. If you need a reco for another gig, I got you. All right. So you can use my name, number, and I want to make sure they have a real positive exit interview with me. Okay. But if there's somebody I think could really sell, but maybe they're just having a rough patch but they are quitting, I'll try to get a 10 demo notice. If I have to drop down, if they say, I don't think I could do 10 more, how about 5? All right. How about 5? We end everything positive. 5 more demos, and they say yes eventually, and then I say, all right, so I really want you to try to sell on these 5. Like, don't hand in 5 no sales. That wouldn't really be helping out the team at all, right? So I really want you to try to go for it. But when do you think you can get these 5 demos done by? I'll get them done this weekend. Great. I've had people give me a 5 or 10 demo notice and sell another $1,000 and then not quit and change their mind. I've had people do the demos, make a couple sales, and leave, just like they said they would. And that's okay. And I always give everybody who leaves, no matter what, a positive exit interview. Try not to get offended. Here's the deal. It's not about you anyway. Not everybody wants to sell knives in people's homes all summer. I know that's hard for us to believe, but it's true. Some people try it and they don't want to keep doing it. One of my very good friends in college, one of my fraternity brothers, started on the same day as me in a different office. We both sold for the winter break. He sold twice as much as I did over winter break. I have since beat him by $83 million. All right. So, but we're still friends, and he just didn't want to sell knives beyond the winter break. That's okay. Some people won't want to do it beyond 3 weeks. That's okay. Make sure everybody leaves with a positive exit interview. Don't do the, well, good luck at McDonald's or anything, like nothing like that. Okay. Because what you're doing is you're screwing up for the whole company, and we don't want that. You're messing up the whole division. Okay, that's how I look at it. So always being the positive force, and you can try to get notice if they're definitely leaving. You can try to talk people into staying if you believe in them, obviously. But that leads me to my last scenario here. I'm a rep that's 0 for 10. I've done 10 demos. I've had no sales. I've got 6 more demos lined up for the next 2 days.
All right, Atid, I'm going to throw it over to you. You're still on here.
What's up? I'm on here. Yep. Wait, so 10 demos, no sales, 6 demos lined up.
Correct.
Where in how far along are you?
I'm still, we'll say I didn't really do that much in my fast start. Maybe I sold like 500, but since my fast start this week, 10 demos, all no sales, 6 demos lined up. I've only had a few $100s in sales from my fast start.
Okay. Well, how are you feeling?
Great.
Great? I mean, you can't be feeling that great, right? 10 no sales?
Yeah, it was a real bummer.
Okay, I get it. I mean, actually, we had a girl in our office. Her name was Tanya Rubio a couple of years back. And basically what happened is she had a string of 10 no sales. She came into the office for a PC. We helped her out. And those next 3 weeks, she sold 2K after 2K after 2K with 6 demos a week. Is that something you'd be interested in figuring out how to do? I could definitely teach you how to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, awesome. Well, I have times for a PC either later today at like 6 or maybe tomorrow earlier in the morning around 10. Do either of those times work for you?
Yeah, I can come in at 10. That's fine.
All right, awesome. So I'll see you tomorrow at 10.
Great job, Atid. So again, getting him in for a PC so you can handle this. Now, a couple of different options here. I didn't really give you enough information, but if the rep went 0 for 10 and I didn't think they could actually sell, meaning that they're not going to turn it around. Maybe they're zip codally challenged. Okay, meaning that I know they just don't know the right people to see. That's why I call it zip codally challenged. Not their fault. They're just not going to get into the right circles, and that's going to be that. If they're excited about doing more demos, then you have a couple of options. So they're probably chasing after the base pay, right? So they're probably excited because they just made 10 times whatever your base pay is, and they have 6 more to go. So they're thinking about that number, and they haven't really been focusing on selling. So I like the angle of, well, you can't feel that great if you went 0 for 10. I mean, that's like very rare that somebody goes 0 for 10. I mean, that's not a normal thing for our business. I mean, most people are 6 out of 10, at least 5 out of 10, at least 3 or 4 out of 10, right? So I think you need some help from me, and I want to help. If you really want to be here, I want to turn things around with you here. I can't have you do these next 6 demos and go 0 for 6. That's not fair to the company. It's kind of like, I would look at it this way. I know who you are, and I believe in you, and I want to see you succeed here. But Vector Marketing Corporation, you're a rep number, right? They don't know who you are. They have you have a rep number, but they do know that you went 0 for 10 and that you're no longer an asset, that you're now a liability to the company. What do most companies want to do with their liabilities? They want to cut them, right? Well, I don't want to do that because I know you and I know your potential, but I do want to help you succeed if you really want to be here. So the first question is, do you really want to sell? And they say almost every time, yes. They say, well, I don't do these next 6 demos until we sit down and do a PC. All right. And I also want to get you field trained. Okay. So those 2 things. Do you think if you have demos for tomorrow, do you think you could call them up and ask them if they could be pushed back for 1 or 2 days so we can meet tomorrow, do a quick PC? I'm going to go over some things that I really believe will help you out, and I want to get you set up for field training. Do you think you could do that for me? And they usually say yes. Okay. And then I get them in for a PC. Now the PC is, I'm going to take a look at the 10 demos they did. I'm going to go through each and every single one. I'm going to find out, are they seeing the right people? Are they just getting into a bad circle? Did they really do the demos? I'm going to call them and verify them. All right. Not right in front of them, but I will do that to make sure they're really doing the demos. And I'm going to, teach some things that I think will really help them sell on these next six demos. But the reason why this works, what I say before, whatever you teach them closing and dropping down. That's really what you need to teach. Role play close, role play the dropping down, either of those. What I tell is, when I teach you this, you are going to be a nice selling machine. I can promise you that. And I'm just trying to build their confidence, because if they believe it, they're going to go out and experience it, I believe. And that's also been my experience. So my goal is to turn it around for them. I'd say about half the time I do. Now, if they're 0 for 10, of 6 demos to go, I may have to take them off of the base pay. right? And I might say, Atid, what I want to do just for your next 6 demos is I want you to show the company that you really want to be here and that you really are an asset. And I'm going to suspend you from the base pay just for these next 6 demos. Usually I do 5 demos, but since they have 6 lined up, just for these next 5 demos, just for these, whatever. You pick a number, just for these next 5 demos. And if you make a couple sales and you show the company you really want to be here, I'm going to put you right back on. But this is really going to show them that you really want to be here and that you want to be a productive member of the team. What do you think about that? 9 times out of 10, they say, that sounds good. The other time they say, this isn't really for me, and I let them quit. Because the last 10 demos, they weren't trying to sell anyway. They're not going to sell on any future demos, and they're just going to cost me money on the base pay program. So I'll get their kit, and I'll let them end amicably, right? In a positive way. I'll get a real positive exit interview. Hey, thanks for the effort. I really believed in you, and I know you're going to do great, whatever. Same thing. I know you're going to be great. But the other 9 times they say, yeah, I really want to do this, then that's what I'll do. And I'll teach them, either something closing wise or dropping down wise, because they're not dropping down properly, and I'll build up their confidence for these next 6 demos. And 9 times, for half the time they leave and they quit, even after all that. All right. Because they really weren't, they were trying to say things to you because you're the manager and they just want to make sure they're saying the right things at all times. Right. The other half the time they actually go out and sell. And that's my goal. So and I'm okay if somebody quits, but the other half of the time they really go out and they try to sell, and they sell, and then everything gets back to normal. But you don't have to take them off base pay. You could suspend them for the next 5 demos to see if they really want to turn things around. So any questions about that? We're coming up on the end of our time, but if you have a question on anything went over so far, I'd be happy to entertain it. One question. And then I have a final thought if not.
Nothing's coming through on the group chat, so I'm assuming.
My final thought. All right, so here's the biggest thing we didn't touch on that everyone forgets, okay? And I'll get to your question in a second, but here's the thing everyone forgets, and that is that everyone forgets to ask reps how many leads they got. That's the biggest forget on PDI. How many leads did you get? And if you're not asking reps how many leads that they get, they're not going to last past their fast start. Every single time they call in, you at some point got to say, how did you do with leads? How did you do with recommendations, or whatever you want to call them? But how did you do? And get that number. And if you notice the number's low, you got to get them in for a leads PC, right? And help them out with that. They're not following the approach, but you don't have to call them out on the spot. You can do that in a PC. They role play theirs. You role play yours for them. They see the difference. You teach them to go out and do it right. But make sure you're always asking them, how many leads did you get? How'd you do with recommendations? If they keep getting a lot, great, but don't stop asking that question, because sometimes they get a lot from their initial appointments because they're people they know really well that want to help them. And then they start getting less and less because they're not asking, or they changed the approach somehow, or they winged it and it worked the first few times because it was mom, Uncle Joe, who's their best buddy, and so on. But they're still winging it and it's getting worse. Okay, so you always want to be on top of leads, and that'll help retain them. All right, was there a question?
I think Atid had a question.
Go ahead, Atid.
Yep. So I had a question. So on PDI, I was told that during PDI, you should be also teaching them something new post-demo, or adjusting something they did, or figuring out somewhere they could have gone wrong and how to fix it. But with reps that haven't been to advanced training yet and haven't learned more necessarily, like that first weekend rep, how do we go about doing that, if we should be going about doing that? Or should we just let them understand or see what happens and then try to teach them after advanced training?
For their first weekend, I want to get them to advanced training. So I just keep promising them that they're going to learn all this stuff in advanced training. Now, I do like to teach something I'm going to teach in advanced training to a really great rep that I know will retain it. So I might teach some of the value building phrases that I'm going to teach in advanced training to somebody on their first weekend. Like it's more expensive than wood or plastic, but it's worth it because, and I might teach them how to do that. And then that way, when they sell something later on that weekend, I can say at advanced training, hey gang, I taught this to so-and-so on PDI, which reinforces how important PDI is. They used it, and these were the results. Now I'm going to teach it to you. And that would just get people to want to use the information that you're going to teach. But I don't want to teach too much the first weekend because they haven't mastered the basics yet. So anything I would teach the first weekend would be something I already taught that I'm trying to reinforce, or something that they bring up. Like, for example, maybe they My mom said that she didn't think she would need the butcher knife. I would teach them how to handle that right then and there, so they would know for the next time. Okay, so if something specific comes up, I definitely teach it. Now, beyond first weekend, you're exactly right. If you can teach them something on PDI, they will keep calling back. So I usually have a list of things I want to teach, or that morning I say, all right, this, and it could be any random objection. Today I'm going to teach people how to handle not now. When they call in for PDI, or today I'm going to teach how to handle I don't need all those pieces. When they call, hey, if they don't have a question, hey, today I'm teaching everybody how to handle this objection. I don't need all those pieces. Have you heard that one yet? Okay, well, you will. And here's how you would handle it in the future. And I'll just have something ready to go that I know that I can give them value. But I try to customize it to the individual first, because that's going to give them the most value. Is that helpful? All right, cool. All right, gang. Yes. We are all right, cool. We are out of time, I think, right?
Yes, we are. We do have one more question if you have time. If not, it's not a big deal.
I have nothing to do today, so fire away.
All right, Colin, go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, John. This is kind of a little bit more of a request question type. Thank you so much for doing this. I got a lot of great nuggets from this. I didn't get to role play at all. Could we possibly do this again in the future before summer? So
absolutely. I think I've already told Shelby I would do this again.
Yes.
Got some other people that might be chiming in with some stuff as well. But there are so many things that can come up on PDI that if we're doing the same topic or a similar topic and you would like me to go over something, you could let Shelby know, and I'll cover it at that time.
Thank you. I feel like this is one of the things that I'm going to have the most trouble with whenever I run my branch. I feel like PDI is going to be one of my weaknesses, so I definitely train up on it.
Let's all get in and pick a day that we can go in and do PDI with our managers. I think if you could do that, I know they might not have a ton of reps right now, but hey, every PDI call you can listen to can be helpful. And if you can be intentional about going in and going over some PDI scenarios with your manager, role playing them, you can role play them with each other. If you don't know the answer, reach out to somebody. You're going to get good at PD. So branch is meant to be just like the reposition. You're not supposed to know how to run a branch before you run a branch. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're not even supposed to. But just like you didn't know how to sell Cutco when you went to training either. And you didn't know how to sell Cutco after you finished training. And you didn't know how to sell Cutco after you finished advanced training. People did buy Cutco from you your first weekend because they saw it was a good product. It does sell itself, and you didn't spit in their face. That was it. So they bought the knives. If you think you could send some 18-year-old into my house at my age, wife and kids and all that, and sell me on something, then it's not happening, okay? It wasn't until you went to a bunch of meetings and conferences, now you can sell Cutco. It's the same with branch. You're going to open your branch. You're not supposed to know how to do everything because you have no experience yet. It's all the experiences of doing those demos that have gotten you to the point where you can be confident selling Cutco to anybody at any time. That's the same with branch. Like, you're going to get good at this. It's supposed to be on-the-job training, just like the reposition. So have confidence that you know way more than the rep does. Anything you do say is going to be more than what they are expecting or know anyway. And if you just have fun with them and they like you and you treat everybody well and you treat them the way you would want to be treated and you're really genuinely trying to help them and you keep reminding them what's in it for them, you're going to run a great branch and you're going to keep getting better at it. And from the experience, you got to run a branch again, because then you're really going to feel like, okay, you have a better idea of what you're supposed to say to certain people. Like, you're going to cause somebody to quit because of PDI, something you say on PDI. I remember telling, she was a single mom and she was worried about her phone time, and I didn't have kids at the time. And I said, well, can't you just put them in front of the TV while you make phone calls? And she said, yeah, I guess I could do that. She called back an hour later and she said, this isn't going to work out. I can't do that. That's not the kind of parent I want to be. That's not the kind of parent anyone should be, by the way, which I didn't realize at the time because I didn't have any kids, right? So I caused her to quit because of something I said on PDI. But guess what? I never said that to somebody again, right? And so you get better at PDI, and you can't possibly know everything. So if you make some mistakes along the way, that's okay. If you can be right slightly more than half the time, you're going to have a great branch. You can be wrong 49% of the time, you're still going to sell a lot of knives this summer. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. You and I will figure out another date for the next one of these, but thank you everyone who participated. I really appreciate all of your input, and John, your advice and insight and everything was just so great. So thank you again, and we'll figure out another time to do this.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.